Community Access Board of Directors meeting for Tuesday, November 20th, 2012. Would the Secretary of the interim style please call the roll?
Cindy Thomas.
Present.
So Eric Adams. Here. Matt Pearson.
Here.
Jason Davies.
Present.
Neil Fishman.
Here.
Rachel Moran. And George called and said he's sick.
And Rachel did let us know last week that she wasn't going to be
And
able
Tim Williamson.
Yo.
And two. There you go.
Okay, so we have a quorum. Everybody who was expected is here. And we have no public comment that I know of. So we shall move to the Board of Directors comments and announcements. People, anybody got anything to? Tim's thinking, I can see. I was thinking Cameron.
Just burned out.
You burned out?
Yeah, I thought too much.
Oh. Nothing?
No, maybe, have we announced officially that, some staff members are leaving?
I was gonna do that in my report.
You were, okay.
No thunderstorm.
No thunderstorm. Okay, everybody's looked at the agenda. Is there any adjustments we need to the agenda? Modifications, deletions, additions? Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, does anyone
Who's second?
oppose? Okay, we got an agenda. We have minutes from the September 18, 2012 meeting and the October 16, 2012 meeting that are in need of approval. Everybody's looked at those? Any corrections? Seeing none, do we have a motion to accept both sets of minutes?
I think the issue on that was that Jason and I were absent for September.
Yeah.
Do you want to approve these separately then?
Yeah,
So we
because I
did-
was out there
Okay,
for
so
October.
do we have a motion for September 18?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion to approve October 16?
I'll move. Second. You can move it.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
One
Say
abst-
aye.
Okay.
Two.
Did you get all that, John?
Okay, got it.
Okay. Okay, let's go to the treasurer's report, please. Matt?
So, for the month ending October, we have $106,900 and change in cash assets. Interesting is we had $18,461 in income for that month, with our deposits from the community access fees and a couple other minor things. Interesting to see with a few changes coming up, we'll have some both increased expenses for rent and a few months of maybe possibly decreased expenses for employee expenses coming up here. And that's about all I have to report so far.
You have an identifiable trend in access fees?
I believe the last report we had from in October from John was that there was an increase.
There has been an increase, and it was considerable last time. This time, we've only gotten the AT&T check so far,
Okay, that's
and it's pretty much, it hasn't gone down. It's gone up maybe $50. I tried calling about the Comcast fees. They're probably in Petaluma. They just haven't been passed through to us yet. They should be in because they only got 6 weeks.
Should have asked me a couple hours ago.
I called Cindy. Cynthia.
Cindy.
Cindy. I called Cindy and she wasn't there to ask. But that should be coming in soon, and I'll certainly shoot you all an email as to what that sum is. You might also mention here the tax returns, which are part of the audit, but I sent those to the finance committee, and there's only, they're pretty straightforward. They're very dense. You got it. This one's 40 pages.
I read every word.
Mm-hmm.
And on page 6, clause 9, there's that line about, there is a specification that the board, at least one board member needs to review the forms before they go up. so we can address that with the audit, I guess.
Anything else? Okay,
Thank you, Matt.
Sure.
thanks, Matt. Executive Director report, please,
Does the
John.
treasurer's report get approved, or?
No, we haven't done it in quite some time.
We don't have to.
Okay, just, my form says motion second.
I think it's just a presentation.
Okay, got that. Executive Director's report, okay, well, yes, staff turnover. We've lost 2 staff members, and I just want to acknowledge that Kate and Van were very helpful, make PCA what it was. Kate was there for over 3 years, and Van for over a year. And they both assured their positions, I got quite attached. I relied on both of them greatly. So it was kind of a blow. They both have moved on to pursue their career track. Van to post-production and web consulting. Kate got a full-time position with Old Bear Republic Brewery in Healdsburg. But I think we should note that both of them were commuting a half an hour to their jobs. And that was kind of I know it was, Van did say that he just was tired of the commute, that he wasn't getting the payoff. We can talk more about the implications of the turnover in new business. I signed the lease. We are signed, sealed, and delivered for another 5 years. The initial start date was pushed back to November 1st because they didn't really get the lease to me until after the 15th. So we were able to get reimbursed for that extra half of September that we paid.
Did we get those clarifications dealt with for the lease?
Yes, we had 3 clarifications. I got 3 that were easy.
Thank you.
I met with Matt, we went through, and he had 7 or 8. Some of them were pretty obvious. I mean, they didn't need to be changed, they need to be watched, and I certainly could ask for permission. But what we did change was, there was a request for $2 million aggregate insurance. We have $1 million per occurrence with no mention of aggregate. So that was struck from the lease. They had a clause in there that said that we couldn't take pictures of our office and put them anywhere, and I explained that we're a media center, we do a lot of that. That got struck. And then there was a little thing that says we cannot cook on the premises and other microwaves. So minor touches, that got cleaned up. There's still some loose ends to work out. The landlords have been really helpful and friendly. There is a facility, the facility is cleaned twice a week. They come in at 4 in the morning. And now that they don't have anybody on the other side, they need to come through our area to get to the communal area. So I extended them the code and a key, and they signed a paper saying that they are responsible. They've been working for the landlord for years.
Do we need to bond them?
I don't think so. We can review that.
I don't know,
Well,
because
they
we have
should be.
capital equipment, I don't know.
Who hires them?
Landlord.
They're hired by the landlord.
So then they should be
She has to
bonded.
bond them, yeah.
Landlord's on the hook for it. Is
So
the,
that should be in a lease agreement as well.
yeah,
Those
I was
should
just
be-
gonna say,
I believe it's covered, there's a community services section of responsibility and cost, cost sharing with that, because it also covers parking and gardening and what they carry, and that's covered in that page,
common area maintenance.
yes.
And I do have a professional form that he's submitted, and I had him sign one of my own.
Okay.
The office installation, I just wanted to thank Helder at Azteca TV. He let Zach and I come up and raid their office for extra desks, chairs, and cabinets. And I got a nice picture frame for Thomas's Ratatouille poster. We're looking for a conference table now and a couch and various elements of that nature. But things are still shifting. The meeting room has still got a lot of stuff that we're just sort of piling there until it finds its place. We had a staff meeting on Monday, and studio build-out is starting by raking through our storage unit and seeing what we can recuperate there, testing our old assets to see if they'll be useful. Technology's changed a lot, so we're not sure that it's going to be very productive, but that's where we're starting. Oh, I attended a downtown association meeting recently.
I'm sorry, may I ask a question about that before we move on? That's a 5-year lease that you signed?
5-year.
And what kind of, terms does that include in terms of?
Fixed.
Fixed, it's
Yes.
fixed for 5 years.
Yeah.
Can it go down?
I don't believe so.
Just in case.
2,100.
However, there is an escape clause. If
Yeah.
we lose our contract with the city or our funding source, then
Exactly.
we're allowed out of the lease.
Mhm.
Yeah, we approached this same proposition, and it was 2,400 a month a year ago. So, and it's interesting now, the whole building is full. And that was a missing piece for her, because she could find a therapist upstairs a lot easier than somebody downstairs.
Okay, thank you.
So, went to a downtown association meeting, and then 2 very interesting contacts came out. The new chief of police was there, and he was making his presentation, and he said, and we want to get a TV show on on community access. So I
Nice.
slipped in my
Really?
card. And the Smart Train, they were making a presentation as well, and I made sure they knew that they could use us for just educational info that they need. People aren't used to trains, safety
Right.
issues. The whole concept of trains is really out of the public memory, and I made sure that he knew that PCA was an asset for that. Mary at Summit State Bank has offered to help us target potential sponsors. I made a new brochure. We've revised the, I'll pass these out, take a bunch. Revised the price range. We weren't getting any traction with the prices we had. But Mary's offer was quite interesting. She said that she would, put together 5 to 10 contacts and actually approach them for me to follow up. But she had a clause. She recommended that the board do the same thing. That should really be a concentrated strategy to stir things up so that I can come in and close the deal. And her proposition was that, you start with a list of people you know that are in a position to consider a sponsorship investment in PCA, and you contact them and say, for me to ask for money, I'm asking for money for me.
Right.
But for you to ask for it, you're saying they need it, and they're doing a good job, and you can support it, and then I could follow up. She said that she would write letters, saying John Bertucci will contact you, and it's a good thing to do. So now you have the new brochure. The price range now is $3,000 for the top level, $2,000 for the middle, and $1,000 for the lower. We've changed our programming rhythm. It runs now, the same programming is repeated 3 days a week, 2 days a week, and 2 days a week. So we have 3 different programming grids. 2 of them repeat twice a week, and 1 of them repeats. So we're not really breaking things down on the prime time or not. It's a daily rhythm, and there's a lot more. You can see it used to be like 250 impressions on the screen. Now it's up to 2,800 or 2,080, whatever. And I got to say that I haven't done the annual report yet. It's just been a lot of stuff with the audit, the move, the lease renewal, and now this job thing. I can still submit it with the audit if we approve it tonight. If the board doesn't need to approve it. I'm wondering if the board actually does need to approve these annual reports. If you feel you do need to approve it, then I can submit the audit with a request for a delay, and we can have it ready in December. I've done 4 of them. I think they're read by 1 person at City Hall.
Why are you looking at me?
It's almost a formality, because you're there, you hear about it. It's almost a formality, because the annual report is basically implicit in the audit. We're stable financially. What did we accomplish? I can toot our horn and say we were very stable, and put out this many shows and that sort of thing, and that's something I've still gotta do. So that is my report, but the question is open, does the board need to approve the annual report?
Do you remember what's in the contract with the city? That's where the requirement comes from.
Right, that's what I was saying, is that it goes along with the contract.
I think it says submit, I don't think it says approved by board.
City contract.
John, when we're looking through this, how many sponsors of this type do we have right now?
We have one,
Summit.
Summit
Just
State
Summit.
Bank, and they've done it 2 years in a row at 2,000. And, you know, I would like to have another couple of them.
You know, if they're spending efforts marketing and they pay off, maybe we should award them with that and call it an in-kind upgrade.
I am already giving them an upgrade, at 2,000 I
Okay.
give them the top level.
Okay.
Oh. But yeah.
That explains their enthusiasm.
Can I ask that, maybe it's worth a conversation with Mary to see if, hopefully they've had positive impact or response from it. Maybe if we had something that, you know, the testimonial from Summit to use in recruiting additional sponsorships.
Well, I think if she writes 10 personal letters to
Yes.
contacts and says, these people are great and you should support them, that's a pretty good testimony.
True.
Can we be in sync with her to find out who she's reaching out to, just so we don't duplicate our efforts, or so we can also reinforce them?
Yeah, if you have any contacts, send them to me and I'll
Okay.
coordinate them and make sure, because I'm sure she has more than any of us. They have a very strong outreach to nonprofits and local businesses. Let's see, where am I?
To follow up on your question, you know, the other reason for this program here was not just for, cash donations in, but to use as an in-kind donation, perk for those that might wanna donate things like limos during the
Right.
Butter and Eggs Day Parade, or equipment, or rental, facilities, that type of thing. So that we could pay them with, you know, with cash, on-air cash, like a radio station
Oh,
does. And I think we could probably do a better job of that in the future, because we do have sort of these chits that we, you know, call in.
Just think of it, $3,000 is steep for a small business.
It is, and the rate card is just that, it's a rate card.
Yeah.
It should go up and down, I mean, it's a very negotiable, it should be a very negotiable rate. So it's basically, you know, you propose a rate, and if they come back with something, then, you know, the answer is yes. I hate to give away our negotiating position, but,
Well, we can edit that part out.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
I was just gonna
That's
say.
basically it. It's like, yeah, you can only do 1,000, okay, we can do 1,000.
I think the recording had a little.
Yeah, 18-minute gap, is that what it is?
Little seconds.
The main thing is if you're establishing a certain level of value or a certain level of exposure, you wanna try to maintain that, obviously.
Yeah, consistency.
As much as possible.
You don't want someone coming in with a $2,000.
Yeah,
But
Ken
you
Lucas,
could-
that's the one that
That's
paid the
what, yeah.
top price, and because the earlier prices were much higher, that the in-kind was a little more difficult
Yeah.
to chip away at. Now that we're down to 1,000, it's conceivable that somebody could give us $1,000 worth of in-kind work. And
Do we have an idea of where our viewership is, where, you know, who watches most when? I assume city council and school board is our bread and butter.
This gets watched a bunch, and the tech committee gets watched. I know because I've been approached on the street and they say, hey, I saw you on TV. Really?
That happens.
When? I usually ask them what channel, so that's how I know.
But apart from anecdotal, I don't know that we do have.
Yeah, we tried running
No,
a
you
survey,
did-
but
Yeah.
there's no, you know, we don't have the funds to do
No.
a Nielsen rating.
or an interactive survey.
We can tell that when there's a sound problem with City Hall, that the phone goes off the hook. That's a good sign that people are watching. The Little League, we had a,
Must have been big.
well, there we were online, so people actually
Yeah.
would go online to listen. And we were on TV as well, so we had maybe 1,000 people listening at the same time. That was pretty remarkable for us.
I mean, I would think things like, you know, school board, city council, you could target, you know, people, you know, lawyers and doctors and those types of professionals might work.
I'm not finding this clause about it.
Well, it seems reasonable for the board to approve, and, I mean, that's what we're talking about,
Yeah.
right, approving it. It would seem reasonable and prudent that we do so, and if we could also do it pending any changes or addendums.
Can we do it expeditiously? I'd hate to jeopardize John's submittal date.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too.
And it's middle day,
It just says in November,
okay.
the audit is due in November and the annual report. We've been late before, and a letter to the city saying, there will be a month of delay, it will not be,
There was a number of years where we didn't even submit a report, so we've only
Mm-hmm.
become compliant in the last 3 or 4 years.
4, yeah.
And this report, it does have to be part of the audit?
No, along
No,
with it.
it's just simultaneous, the audit is a separate
I
request.
think they could be they could be asynchronous by a couple days or a week.
So you can we can approve your audit.
Yeah, the audit we can approve tonight, hopefully.
But you have to read it quick.
It's long.
I am not finding that.
Do you want me to look and you can finish your part?
Yeah, you might try the bylaws, actually, it's not in
It's in the contract.
It's in the contract. That would be under city. Staff certificate.
We gonna do the annual report section?
I couldn't remember.
Does not say. Does not require board approval, it just says prior to November 1 of each year.
Okay, so, is that an operational duty or or
I think it is,
As
but,
a minimum.
yeah, and I think if you want, you could just email it out, and if anybody has any recommendations.
Give us 2 days
for-
and lacking any
Mhm.
negative comment,
Yeah.
then you should be good.
okay,
Can we?
Is everybody good with that?
2 days?
sounds good.
Yep.
Okay.
It won't be 40 pages, so we'll have to.
No, it's done about 7 pages now. It's a lot of formula.
It's a lot to say that.
I'd say save that as cut paste.
Out of boilerplate.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, then we'll do that.
Okay.
Why didn't did the landlord mention why no photos of the office?
Because she was using a boilerplate. It was in a boilerplate piece.
Oh, okay.
So we just, we went through and I appreciated that, and that's
Yeah,
fine too.
Yeah, I just really wanted to make sure that, maybe she sells the building, but the contract stays with it, and even though we have an understanding landlord now, that just not being able to allow having photos or having a microwave or a toaster, those type of things, I was just thinking, they already exist, but let's
Right.
Yeah.
clarify that.
Good catches.
Little
Okay.
things like, we can't go up on the roof.
Really?
okay, I was
No-
curious.
No
Who's
type of
we?
lighting?
Any,
Not a showstopper, I was just curious. Okay, so,
John never likes it when I pick apart all these contracts and leave this trail of all these notes, oh, by the way, and this, and this, and
yeah,
this.
Was that on your iPad?
The contract? No, it's a paper copy.
That's good.
anything else on John's report? Questions? Okay, thank you, John. No items on the consent calendar. Are there any reports of committees?
Have they met?
It's time to reform committees.
Okay, then we'll move to old business. Item 1 is discussion and possible action on designation of new board officers. And this was on our October agenda where it usually resides, but we thought it'd be nice to have most of us here have that discussion and make those decisions. So, we have an executive committee to appoint here tonight. Anybody want to Any comments on that? Open the discussion.
Well, can we
Okay.
start with a question as to who might be interested in being, say, board chair?
Going once, going twice?
I would defer to someone who's been on the board longer than me, but if asked, I would serve. But that would be my first preference is for someone who's been here longer. The time commitment issue that I
Looks
have
like
has
it's one
been
of these two
resolved.
guys.
Well, I share the issue with time commitment, that's the you know, it's sometimes I feel like I don't get to invest as much as I feel that PCA deserves, so, and I know, recognize Cindy for putting in an amazing amount of effort to keep this thing going.
Is
And
that a
that's my-
nomination?
That's my reservation.
Is that a nomination?
And I know
I
that
don't
Cindy
know.
has some demands, and you sort of want to see if you could, see if someone else would step up to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would do it. I would do it if that's what makes sense.
I'd be happy to renominate.
Stay on this chair,
Yeah, I would do it.
think you're a good chair.
Well, everybody's been chipping in really well, so it's not like I'm as taxed as I was back in the day when John and I had to meet almost 2 or 3 times a week. So, that means John's doing a good job and we're all doing a good job, so. Was that a nomination?
Yeah, I would nominate you.
All right, is there a second? Okay, are there any other nominations for the position of chair?
I mean, does anybody else want it?
Are there any other I'm just going by Robert's rules. I have to ask 3 times. Is there any nominations for?
Was, Jason, did you say you did want it, you did not want it?
No, I said that I didn't have the time constraint that I thought I might,
Oh, I see.
or the conflict of interest issues.
Uh,
But at the same time, I would always defer to someone who's been here longer first, and happy to nominate Cindy. If she didn't want to do it and no one else wanted to do it, I'd be happy to step up. But given that that's not the case, I'm nominating Cindy.
And that's second.
Are there any other nominations for chair? Any other nominations for chair?
Any from the floor?
Okay, all those in favor of me for chair?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Yay.
Unanimous. No one can accuse us of not being a women-led organization.
Exactly.
We made every effort.
you know, it'll be okay. We do this well, so it's not like. Okay, I need a nomination for the vice chair position. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
Wants it.
Is the incumbent not willing to continue?
Well, I would
Yeah,
be
that's a good
willing to continue, but I would defer to someone else on the board if that would be the desire of that person and the board. Because this will be my last year, and I'm not quite sure how much I'll be here this year, so I feel like I won't be able to play such a critical or role, so. And I'm happy, I think it's time for someone else to do it, so I would happily.
I'll nominate Jason.
Jason.
I'll second Jason.
Okay, are there any other nominations for vice chair?
Going once?
Are there any other nominations for vice chair?
I'd also nominate Eric. I mean, I really I enjoy both of your leadership styles, so I just wanna know who's interested in doing that. I mean,
Yeah, I wouldn't
It
wanna
would be
take it
great
away
to have
from
a
Eric.
consensus here.
I'm happy with both, and I think, you know, Eric has been an excellent, moderator in times of stress in the organization, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Well, if elected, I will serve. be like Lyndon Johnson or whoever, but if not,
If, Eric, if you're going, I'm out. I'm not gonna run against you. I'm fine with status quo, how do you guys know? Particularly if this is your last year.
Ability and graciousness.
But I'm also happy to be the helpful extra substitute vice.
Vice.
Okay, I'm gonna withdraw my
Okay.
nomination.
You're withdrawing your nomination?
Oh, see, I'm out now.
Well, again, if nominated, I will accept, I'll put it that way.
I'll nominate Eric for vice chair.
I'll second.
Okay,
Who
are there,
seconded?
are there any other
Jason.
nominations for vice chair? Are there any other nominations for vice chair? All those in favor of Eric? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, congratulations.
This is one non-competitive group, I guess.
You know what, it's kind of almost like if it's not broken,
Yeah.
but then again, yes. Okay, so let's talk about treasurer.
Nominate Matt.
Well, Matt has been doing such a superlative job, it would be hard to imagine this organization without his leadership in this role.
If the board feels that they'd like me to continue with that, I'm fine, otherwise I'm willing to step aside. I've been asked if I'd consider being the secretary if you want to, if someone else would like to take that role. It's up to you. I'm open to what the board needs.
What is your preferred role?
I have no preference.
Can you be the same?
Well, which do you feel requires more time, secretary or treasurer?
The treasurer requires more time whenever there's changes to insurance and we think we dealt with some major banking issues and the auditor. At this point, it's been fairly minimal, an hour or so a month and signing checks, and that's about it. The secretary is the preparing all the documents after each meeting and for each meeting, which John would probably have a better idea what take than I do.
Well,
Yeah.
back in the day, staff used to help with that. I don't know, given how you're redesigning or restructuring the staff responsibilities, I don't know that there's room for that.
We were blessed with Marcia, she did a good job. But I was involved from agenda preparation to approving the minutes before they went to you. It's down to a form, you just check off the things that come up. Maybe what you need to look at right now is if you're willing to take the secretary, then who's willing to take the treasurer? If that's a possibility. Or if you take the treasurer, is there anybody here who's interested in being secretary? I would love to keep it in the board. I don't think I have the staff to pull another staff member here. It would be me, that's what she's saying.
No, not to bring the staff member here, but the secretary takes the notes, does the simple template minutes that gets distributed, but the creating of the board packets,
Well, we've always done that.
yeah.
Yeah, we've done the board packets. It all passes through me. I wasn't the one sending it out to them. But I was looking at it before it went out. And quite often suggesting the items that needed to be addressed. So I'll be, up to my ears in it. Don't worry, I'm not gonna abandon whoever does it. So that will continue.
Yeah, I did talk to Rachel about the secretary position and she was not interested.
Yeah, it's a bit much to put to two new people into a position like that.
But then Jason's been on the board for at least a year now.
If no one else wants to do it, I'll do it. It's not my first pick, But it's no one's first pick, obviously. That's why. I get vice chair back now.
Well,
And Trey, yeah, you can do secretary. No, if no one else can do it, I'll do it. Just
We're talking about
tell,
secretary.
tell me what I need to do. Taking notes during the meetings? Remember,
Yeah,
should
Michelle.
order.
Yeah, show them the slide.
Print one of these, fill it in, and then type it.
Okay.
Yeah, we can meet on that, because that can be simplified. What I've done is the yellow is what I add each meeting, and it helps to do that before you walk in, because then it's basically the agenda.
Okay, so does it involve me taking the meeting notes then?
The
That's-
notes are the motions, approval, and 4 or 5 words for a comment that's important.
Okay.
Because we videotape our meeting,
That's the
There it
verbatim.
is.
that is
Mhm.
good documentation, the best ultimate documentation. This is to satisfy the requirement
Of
of
the public
regulatory to maintain our 501c3 status.
But you know, you could do the video as your minutes if you wanted to.
Mhm.
We have to post on our website.
They need to be
We're
posted.
required to
and
post
this-
to our website.
Oh, well, so you can't, post that on the website?
This is very useful for the auditor. They go through and they look at the decisions. They came back to me with a couple of, was this approved?
Right, so if we spent money and it looks like we spent money that we shouldn't have, they can revert back to the minutes.
Right.
So how come George was blank?
So he's not here.
It doesn't say, well, these other ones have columns for present and absent.
Maybe I just forgot to mark it, but
Okay.
that's something I would correct.
Looks like you forgot to mark it. Here, let me fix it for you.
Why is there a big black mark
No,
next
I
to
made a
it?
mistake.
Jason might be so
I made a mistake. I marked Neil absent. He's- But you know, that, you would catch that if you do these right away. That's the trick.
Okay.
It's kind of like hoeing in a line, and if you stay close to it, it holds the whole board together. And Marcel used to record and then do the minutes just before the next meeting. What I do is I have this done this week, while it's still fresh in my mind. Because basically all it is taking the agenda,
Mm-hmm.
cut and paste into minutes and marking who motioned, who seconded,
Okay.
and whether it was unanimous. And, executive director, there was a comment, it's okay to circulate the annual report by email for
Okay.
corrections.
I'll do it.
Well, I move that Jason be named secretary of the board.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jason, you're a good man to take this on.
No one wanted to do it, it was clear.
Well, it's gotta know its limitations. I could screw that up so bad.
Well, it doesn't seem all that.
It's not that hard
I
at all,
can
I
count
think,
and I
yeah.
can hear.
No, I did it for years, it's not that
Pretty
bad.
easy.
Yeah, I'm not, I'll keep you, I'll call you.
No, the only thing I was envisioning is that if I have to take a recording and like do
No,
transcripts
you don't
on
have to
it,
do that.
that's very
Check
tedious.
No. I think you can have it all done by the end of the meeting, basically. It's just, as
Yeah.
John says, you just, who makes the motion, who seconds, and then,
Yeah, just do it
5
like-
lines
You
of a
can do
significant
that on your
comment.
computer, probably.
Well,
That's
I
how
was
I'd
just gonna
rather
say,
do it.
I sit on another
Do it on
board where I'm
computer.
the secretary and I
Yeah.
use my laptop and I
Yeah.
type
That's
the
how I'll
minutes
do
as I
it.
go.
Yeah.
Do you have, so
That is
you have
exactly how I
a
do it.
fillable PDF or is it a Word doc?
It's a Word doc, so I can cut.
Yeah, go ahead and email it to me.
Alright, so we have a motion on the floor.
Okay, so there's been a motion,
And second.
who made the motion? And then the second was
Neil.
Neil, okay. All right, are there any other nominations for secretary? Are there any other nominations for secretary? Seeing none, all those in favor of Jason?
Here.
I mean, the only thing is, we don't have all the board members present.
We have
Sure we
quorum.
don't,
We had a quorum.
Nice try.
sure we don't wanna give them one last opportunity.
It's another unanimous.
Those are two
Golden
brand new
position.
people that aren't here.
Cindy
That's
tested
not a
it.
good sign.
There is no 3-day cooling
It's the
off period.
holiday season. Cooling
This
off.
is the state of California, no
Yeah.
cooling off period. Okay, so,
Only for
we
cars.
have, one more position to fill, and that would be the position of treasurer. Or, is there any discussion before we take
No, we did that.
nominations?
No.
Treasurer,
No?
Well,
No, we
I
did
mean,
not.
I posed, would you like me to take a different
Oh,
position?
yes, I would make a motion that, I thought I did that, but I would make a motion that he would be our treasurer. going
Matt.
forward. Matt.
do you wanna take
That's
the
fine,
position of treasurer?
I'm happy with that, if the board would like me to do that.
Okay,
Well, that sounds
Okay.
okay.
Second.
Who seconded?
I'll second that.
okay.
Second.
Are there any other nominations for treasurer? Any other nominations for treasurer? Seeing none, all those in favor of Matt as treasurer? Indicate so. Anyone opposed, abstentions? Okay. Congratulations, we have an executive committee.
Can I be, instead of secretary, meeting coordinator?
Sure.
Just kidding.
You
Meeting
can be
administrator, no,
I think it's the name, I think that's the,
it's
the thing that people like.
It's a nonprofit.
It is, I understand.
Okay,
It sounds so.
and
clever.
then,
You can be chief operating.
also, our practice, which we've kind of fallen out of step, is to have our executive committee, which are meetings, which are mandated in our bylaws to take place once a month. We were doing those at 6 PM right before this meeting, so does that works with everyone? Okay,
Or 6:30
Or
perhaps?
6:30.
yeah, 6 o'clock if it's a big
It's a
agenda, then,
significant one.
yeah.
Yeah, but 6:30
Yeah,
is not.
6:30 is good, yeah. All right, perfect. All right then, thank you everyone for that. That finishes old business, and moving on to new business is our item 2, discussion and possible action on board committee assignments. John?
Yeah, I put that on because I'm acting secretary, and there is a clause that's, you're required to be on 2 committees as a member of the board. And this was mostly for our 2 new persons. I was able to talk to George when he called, and he would very much like to be on the outreach committee. And since we're very short on the nominating and members advisory, he picked the nominating committee. So we can add
Okay,
those
so-
assignments, so
So George, nominating and outreach and, I'm sorry,
outreach and
development, okay.
And I would be happy to stay on those 2 committees as well, if that serves the pleasure of the board. And I would also be happy to relinquish the membership of the Outreach and Development Director of that committee to George, so he takes that.
That could be decided when we meet.
Okay.
Okay, so Adam's off of outreach and development.
No, on.
Oh, on,
Still
but
on.
the chair,
Yeah, well, I'll talk to
okay,
George.
I got you, okay.
Or whoever else is on.
It's Jason, you. and
Okay,
me,
so-
Yeah, maybe, oh, that's right, Jason, that's right. So maybe Jason would want to take that
Okay,
chair position.
I'm happy with whatever the board wants.
Well, that would be a committee
Rachel
determination.
hasn't specified,
No, I didn't actually talk to her before she left.
yeah. Okay, right now as it stands, it's Thomas, Adams, Pearson, Davies on the executive. Finance, Pearson, Davies, Fishman. Nominating Adams and George. I have to get used to George's last name, what is it?
Trilla.
Trilla.
Depends on your exact time.
Policies and procedures, Pearson, Thomas, Williamson, Fishman. Outreach and development, Davies and George. And myself as member advisory committee.
Oh, you
Rich.
got Eric on outreach,
All right,
Adams,
right,
Davies, and Trilla.
right. So, who wants to make changes to their assignments? Is anybody?
I have 2 non-optional committees,
2,
executive and the finance.
No, and I'm on 3 now.
Could be on 3.
Yeah.
We could be on more if you want.
Well,
What
I'm
better
on
way to get
finance,
rid
but
of
we haven't really met for a while.
We probably should.
Okay. I'm fine with where.
Maybe that would be a good place for Rachel in the finance committee.
If she wants to.
Well, we have strengthened the 2 weak, committees. Members advisory is kind of weak in
yeah,
coverage.
and I'm gonna have to probably back out of that.
It's kind of dormant.
It's not a mandatory committee. It is something, though, that I kind of feel strongly about, but I can't commit to it. So committees, are you looking, Tim, which committees are
Required.
required? That would be executive, finance, nominating, that's it.
Makes sense.
Did you find it?
No, but I'll take your word for it and just flip a couple more pages to make it look like I know what I'm doing. There. Did it work?
No, you didn't point, you were supposed to point a couple of times.
Yeah.
There you go,
Uh-huh.
all right.
Has
Sorry.
outreach and development been meeting, and what's on its agenda?
We haven't met since the Luminarian Award.
Awards.
I think that was the last
Well, we
one.
do, I mean, we've met quite a bit over the past year and
Yeah,
done a
for
couple
butter and
different
egg
things, butter and eggs
days.
for the,
It's been a fairly active.
Sponsorships.
yeah, it's been a.
I like that one. I was wondering if members advisory committee could be somewhat dovetailed into
A
that.
subcommittee of that committee.
Yeah, or just part of it, I mean, because it is part of outreach, it's in-reach, outreach.
This makes sense.
Yeah, it would be nice if you could make it a subcommittee of outreach and development and get a member to
Yeah.
take the,
Or maybe not have it as a committee at all, and just have,
A topic.
if any members are interested in helping out, they would do so through the outreach committee.
I kinda like that.
Yeah, it was really designed, I think, for a board member to be a liaison on that
Mhm.
committee. It was
Right.
generated
Oh,
by the
exactly.
members.
just the
So
members.
it was very low.
Well, so is it the members haven't been interested in doing it?
I
or-
haven't had time to, work on the
Solicit.
recruitment, yeah.
Well, maybe some of the new board members would be interested in that. Has that been discussed already?
And I think that would probably also be a person that might provide some direction with John to the new position that's proposed later in the agenda.
Oh, point.
I also think the outreach and development has been doing a lot of work. That there's just a level of investment in that. Maybe the solution would be to get a PCA member onto that committee to help.
Yeah, do it the other way. Makes sense. So, we could talk offline, I guess,
Sure.
about recruiting for that.
Yeah, or we could just wait until someone shows some desire.
You have Rachel, when she comes back, she'll have 2 to pick and strengthen.
Mm. Okay.
Okay.
Well, should we make a
So-
motion then to eliminate the members advisory committee?
Unless we wanted to get feedback from the other members.
I'll make a
that are here.
motion to combine the members advisory committee, how would I say this? Take that committee, the members advisory committee, and combine it with the outreach and development committee, and have outreach and development determine how that's gonna play out with the members. I don't know.
So, at the discretion of the
Yeah.
Outreach and Development Committee, we will incorporate the spirit of the former Members Advisory Committee in some manner as we see fitting
Or unfitting.
heretofore.
Yeah, I don't even really think we need a motion to do that because it's not a standing committee and it's
Okay.
not even functioning.
Well, I think Jason had suggested moving it into that committee, or
Yeah,
at least that way we can get it off the
you
paper.
make the motion, you make the motion. I withdraw whatever motion I,
So I move that we join the former Members Advisory Committee as a subchapter of the Outreach and Development Committee.
there you go.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Just a second,
No discussion? Anyone opposed?
So incorporate the MAC as a subchapter of O and D,
Yes, O&D.
Motion by Davies, seconded by
Eric.
Aaron
Miles.
Okay,
Anyone opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Motion carries. Any more discussion on that one? Item number 3 under new business, discussion and possible action to approve the draft audit for fiscal year 2011/12.
that was sent out to everybody by email. I've got some hard copies here if you want to take a look at it. I believe this is the third one they've done for us, and we've ironed out a lot of our
When was it
requested.
distributed by chance?
Pardon?
When was it distributed?
It was distributed this week by email.
I had an issue with one of my email accounts, so I think I didn't get that one. That's why it was sort of a surprise to me.
Pass it on down and take one if you need it. And this is for the fiscal year that ended in June of this year, so it doesn't relate to the changes in our rent.
And the cost of this audit was $9,000, huh?
7,000,
7,000.
2,000 goes to the income tax.
Nice.
Yeah, and they've got it down to a formality now. There's a lot of, they came over and they checked our depreciating assets. They sent me lists each week of things they need. So there is investment in there. They are doing a professional job. And what it does is the city then can relax and they're in good hands. We have the one related parties storage unit that's written out to a Bertucci. They vet that as a proper. They haven't submitted, in the past, the auditor would submit recommendations for changes.
We haven't had any findings
Yeah.
for a long time. Whereas when we were trying to put things together after the move from Casa Grande campus to Kentucky Street, we had a number of findings that were less than desirable.
Does the finance committee suggest approval of this?
We have not met on it.
Does the treasurer suggest approval on this?
I'm seeing it for the first time.
Well, Neil, you said you went through it with a fine tooth, right?
I read it today, and
Nothing jumped out at you, right?
nothing jumps out at me.
Nothing jumped out, yeah, if we have no findings, that's half the battle right there.
And I don't know, once it's committed, once they provided us with this, the only issues we've had in the past were slight misinterpretations of property versus assets, the lease/franchise terms with the city, those have been corrected.
And then there was the
Yeah.
issue of the truck and the trailer and some
And a couple of
things
typos.
that we had a hard time
Were
getting
those
off.
fully actually written off, and we got
Yeah.
the instructions for up to
Well,
the,
they were carried over as the depreciating
Exactly.
asset, and that was cleaned up. What, It is a value for the treasurer to go to the auditor without me, I'm staff, and sign off on it. So
And I've done
that is
that.
a step, so.
I've done that in the past,
Yeah,
last 2
and-
years.
And that could be done again, whereas the board could communicate any questions to Matt before he goes into the audit.
I need to know before they bind the final audit if we have to make any changes, otherwise they have to open and reclose it.
We managed to work that out by calling this a draft. They haven't bound it yet.
Okay, so we had that issue last year.
Yeah. We had to undo it to redo it, to give you a chance to do that. Now it's set up for a draft. If you could go in tomorrow and bind it, it's done.
That cost us a couple $100 to do that too, didn't it?
It did cost, because we had to open it up, go through all the, nothing has happened between this date and then, because when they bind it, they're saying it's clean up to the date they signed it. It was just that outstanding form that you two signed, and the legal letter from Pietrowski hadn't arrived. It has arrived, and I'll bring this in tomorrow. All it takes is for Matt to go in and say, it's done. And if you had any questions, that would be.
What does Herb do for us? Is he,
He did work for us 4 years ago. We've never needed him since. We've just never, he's the lawyer of title, I guess. I stopped in and saw him, and he was happy to sign.
he's a good lawyer.
$350 an
That, good lawyer, I've never heard that term before.
Herb's a good, I grew up with Herb, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
So, have you received, a settlement or adjustment for our bookkeeper yet?
I didn't know we needed a settlement with the bookkeeper.
So, clarification, we usually receive an annual, adjustment from the CPA to adjust assets on the bookkeeping for what our assets are. That
Oh.
accounts for depreciation.
To record the depreciation,
Yeah.
that would be from the auditor to the bookkeeper, wouldn't it?
Correct. And so I just wondered if that had been passed along or not yet.
I know that the bookkeeper has submitted all the QuickBooks to the auditor. They are in contact.
Yeah, so in the end, one of the documents, usually when I just wanted to clarify, when they bind and put this together, there's gonna be a final adjustment, which we'll see reflected on as soon as this is closed, on the next financial statement, that she'll adjust our assets and how they're depreciated. So
Oh,
you'll see
yeah.
that change.
Close
They
the
will-
balance sheet.
Yeah,
They won't give that to us until we buy, till we
Okay.
close this.
I just wanted to clarify.
And
I
pay
haven't
them,
got anything
and pay them,
Sorry?
and pay them.
Oh, that too.
I did notice, just in reviewing the audit, that it jumped out at me that we took in less money this year than last year, and we paid out more money this year than last year, which somehow hadn't gotten in there before.
Well, the other thing that's, I'm gonna ask as I read
I can
this.
tell you why we took in less, because we went to DIVCA.
Oh,
Before, we were doing voluntary $2, and it's giving us a lot more
You
income.
took a $50,000 cut.
The other thing is you're probably seeing an increase in, since we awarded our employees some benefits,
right.
that was an increase in.
$100,000, I don't think that was as big a hit as the DIVCA revenue cut.
Yeah, but
Well,
I'm
this,
looking at.
this only shows revenue cut of about $4,000,
Hmm.
$3,000 actually.
But there's a
In access fees.
$16,000 increase in compensation too.
Right.
You take John's raise back.
It wasn't that much.
With the rate we're losing staff, I almost think we should do the opposite.
Mm.
Need to figure out how to get enough money to do it.
That's always been the issue, is how do you support someone to make a long-term career out of?
I think, isn't that subject of another agenda item?
Yes,
It is.
Yes.
I was gonna suggest putting that in.
I would suggest that with the audit, the bylaws don't say that we have to approve them before they're sent back to the auditor for stamping. But I think maybe in the interest of prudence, that we could have email approval by 2 or more, or 1 or 2 members of the finance committee would make John feel pretty good. See what?
What I would ask is
Who's been-
maybe I could make an appointment with the auditor and the finance committee to discuss this and then sign it off then?
I think it would be good to review it and then show up with them.
Yes.
Have it reviewed ready so they don't have to read it to you.
Community.
It'll cost extra.
Does the finance committee wanna meet tomorrow?
What time?
Tomorrow's a bad day for me.
Today,
not raining.
Thanksgiving.
Well, that means if it's not tomorrow, it's next week.
I have mushrooms at this stuff.
You can do that while you're talking to the auditor.
We can help you.
When,
Jason, you cook the stuffing.
What time? And then the other thing is, do we all have to be there? What if we look over this and give you comments and you're the Mr. Treasurer guy?
The only question is if you guys have any feedback or feel that, you know, you're happy with what I,
I don't have any feedback on
Okay.
this.
well then,
So Neil's reviewed it and has none.
okay, Jason, do you want some more time to review it?
I've gone through it, I mean, nothing really sticks out. So,
I have a second question, is, is there anything you think that, Tim feels the city might object to?
The requirement of the city is that you have to have supply audited financials, and it's also in the bylaws. Interestingly enough, the standard for audit is covered by FASB, and they give you your
It's
one-page
almost,
letter that
it's
says.
almost right here, I mean.
Yeah, the whole requirement's met by the, you know, to whom it may concern, love your auditor, give me money.
You are okay with all the language about the city's relationship to PCA?
Yeah. When I had them fixed a couple years ago.
And just verifying, just want to make sure, thank you.
Draft audit pending final okay by the treasurer subsequent to his meeting with the auditor.
Ooh, I can second that one.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay,
Good one, Eric.
Okay, thank
we should
you.
go.
After 4 years, I'm learning how to do this.
We should look back over some videos to see what we look like 4
Yeah,
years
the greatest hits
ago.
video, yeah.
Okay, just tell me the last
Okay,
few words.
there's a motion and a second. Any further
Oh,
discussion?
yes.
He
John
needs
needs
the
it.
words for the motion.
Board approved the draft audit
Uh-huh.
pending.
Subject to final review of,
Subject.
And acceptance
and acceptance by Matt, or the treasurer,
following.
and meeting with the auditor.
It's an awesome
Tomorrow.
responsibility, but I think you're up to it.
Until we
Thank
get
you.
some computer, no writing.
I'm not sure what to say on that.
That's just the hard part, is taking that step.
Are you good, John?
It's like-
Subject to
like-
final review by treasurer
That's
to
what
meet
you have to do
with
as a technical.
auditors.
Right.
Type faster than
That's
this.
Oh, right.
good enough.
Well, I can type faster than I can
This
write.
is me, yeah.
Writing these days, like, whoa.
Okay, and that was a motion by Eric and
Next
a
is
seconded
glasses.
by Tim.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye, all right.
I'm gonna abstain because I've been asked to do it.
Okay, all right, so all in favor except for Matt who's abstaining.
He bailed,
Got that?
He didn't wanna vote for himself.
checking out again.
All righty then. That was, let's see.
It's raining out there.
We're just tearing furious.
Okay, item 4, discussion only of PCA staff restructure. John?
Yes, okay, so you got, I've been sending you material on the job description.
The announcements.
Yeah, we posted, the job posting went out to 7 places, the Press Democrat and the Argus, actually, it's only gonna be in the Argus on Thursday, the Press Democrat ends tomorrow. But that comes with a posting online for 30 days, we also posted on Craigslist for 30 days. We posted on Office News, I'll repeat that again next week, we got it on the PCA Facebook and Twitter. I've gotten 22 resumes to date, I haven't really delved into them, although I am taking calls, and one woman came in with her resume today. I will be doing a systematic review next Monday, starting next Monday, where I'll go through. I really try to respond to everybody who applies, and the way it works is I will weed it down to maybe 10 phone interviews, and then maybe 4 face-to-face interviews.
Have we set a closing date on this?
Open until filled.
Or a open till filled, or when the review will begin?
It wasn't posted on
Okay.
in the ads. Did you get that? Because that was something else I saw.
Yes, I got that.
You got
I got that attachment, but over the weekend, my inbox got filled up and everything else got rejected.
Wow, what were you doing this weekend?
I
That's,
just didn't archive my mail correctly.
Doesn't
So-
sound like fun.
did you get
I
a
gotta
coaching
do
and
that.
counseling?
What?
Put clients on email.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear all that.
I said, did you get a coaching and counseling for that?
Mm,
So,
I
you
bet I
know,
get some
I've met
ideas.
with staff, we've discussed this period, we've been in this situation before, and it's always been a very creative time to restructure. Van and Kate, Kate came on as an access assistant, mostly doing city meetings, and started to fill in needed spots. And Van came in to take over the website and doing some teaching, and it seemed to Zach and I that combining the two was kind of a logical, because the website is outreach, so the outreach coordinator became a title that seemed to group the most of what Van and Kate were doing. What falls out of that deal is Van was teaching, Kate was doing a lot of administrative billing and also the meeting coverage. So right now, Zach has taken over the bulletin board and Adonai's taken over the meeting coverage. We're going to hang on to it as long as we can while we try to find a person who can come in and do website, social media, bulletin board, producing and promoting for PCA. So the actual job offer is only has to live up to outreach coordinator. The actual defined position can be worked out. That's why I sent the draft to you. Eric sent some good suggestions, so here is a revised version of what I sent to you with Eric's input and a few things I changed in this same process. I can't go back and do it without changing it all. It starts to make more sense. So what's in red is what's been added. And as always with PCA, things evolve, and if this person could, there are things in here like developing a PCA program to offer productions for hire. That's still basically an idea. We've done a few of them. They have put a strain on staff time, who actually does these jobs. That may be something we drop, and this person may actually start training, as Van was doing. If their work with Zach in developing orientation material puts them in a position where they can actually work with the new members. So there's room to grow within this. But I think we all agree that having somebody aggressively pointed outwards, reaching out to the community and tooting our horn would be an asset. Somebody with graphic, creative skills. I would love to have promotional videos made, put on TV in between shows. So this is kind of the profile I'm looking for. We'll see what we get with resumes.
I thought the top range was 15 an hour,
This is starting.
This is starting at
to the start.
starting at 13. The range was, if I got somebody in there who was so good that we had to have them,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
needed more, then I have room to go higher.
Gotcha.
But with the budget I'm working on, this seemed to be reasonable.
Are you expanding the other guy's hours a little bit to pick up in the
Yes, I am.
meantime?
There was someone on the tech committee that expressed interest in that position.
Oh,
Is that?
Tell them.
This
they-
position?
Well, we were unclear as to whether that was okay, just given that they serve on tech, and does that matter, because of city?
No, if they serve on the tech, they can work. They just have to live in the city.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, you're right. So does Stephanie.
Yeah.
That's right, okay.
And Neil indicated quite quickly that, this does take the pressure off the increase in our rent. And I actually did the calculations right now, treading water with the staff we've got, we're saving about $23,000 a year.
Yeah, but we don't wanna make the staff have to take on this extra.
No, but what
Too
I'm saying
long.
is that where we could benefit is instead of having two staff members, we could get by with
Right,
one.
trimming, okay,
And
yes.
maybe we could have and guest teachers come in as contract employees.
Right,
There are different ways to restructure our monthly payroll now that we have this, you know, tool.
Right.
And guest teachers are under contract and cost recovery.
The other thing that might be interesting this year is it'll be the first, I think the first full year with Summit,
No, it's second.
second full year? Okay, I was gonna say, we should get a healthy check for our,
Oh, rebate?
the rebate for the nonprofit, I think
Yeah,
of
that's
4,500 or so to 55,
Wow.
If you keep this much, you
$55,000.
get a rebate or something?
Yeah, we get 0.45 basis points.
Or what is that?
4.45 basis points for our averaged balance over the year. So that would pay for almost, let's say, half of one of these positions.
So if I understand this correctly, for this position, John, this person would not be in charge or responsible for checking equipment in and out, front desk,
No, there is a clause in there
There's a
where
bit of that.
they back up the front desk.
back up the
They would
front
be
desk.
covering, it's a good skill to have, it's redundancy in case somebody's sick.
Understood, but it's not a main responsibility.
It's in the additionally paragraph,
Mhm.
operational functions such as front desk duties.
I see, okay.
I'm gonna take that back, what I just said, I miscalculated that. That'll pay for a little, almost a month of one of their salaries, never mind.
Okay.
Well, I think this looks good. I think what we've learned, you know, in the past year, and we appreciate the work that Kate did in this arena, and I know she was burdened with other responsibilities as well. But the need here is for a very dynamic personality, someone who's a self-starter, has an entrepreneurial feel to it, can get out into the community, a real people person, someone who can spark creative ideas and take them from inception to completion. And that's what's really necessary.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to see that person enter into this position.
Here.
And I'm sorry, how many resumes have you already gotten?
22.
I was gonna ask, but you've received such a resounding response, have you hit up any of either the marketing departments or the career centers at the Sonoma State and the junior college? And I don't know if we need more
No.
Posted on the
applicants.
court boards?
Yeah, I mean, I can send them out and distribute to my
Oh, by all
campus if
means.
you like, so.
And where did most of the responses come from? What source?
Craigslist. Although, yeah, there's some from Monster, which is the PD version of Craigslist. I haven't really filtered that. I just throw them in a folder and toss the number on.
Sure. Well, if it would be helpful when you get down to, you know, the 3 or 4, if you would honor an additional person to help with the in-person interviews.
I always do, I always appreciate that. It's been Cindy and Rachel that did it sometimes.
Mhm.
No, Zach is sitting. Would you like to be?
Sure.
Okay.
I was gonna suggest that when you do the final interviewing, that outreach and, a member of the outreach and development committee. so
Yeah,
we
I'll
can
let
have-
Or perhaps Jason would be interested, and we can split it
Or
up.
both of
split
you,
it.
yeah.
These are both of us or whatever.
Yeah. I've done a lot of interviews, so.
Yeah, but personally, I feel having 4 people lined up is gonna get us.
Intimidating?
It's intimidating.
It is intimidating, but
It's a test.
it's also a test as to whether that person can look at 4 people, you know, and do well. Because that's one of the skills that
We
are
won't be
needed for this
hostile
position.
interviewers.
All right, you'll definitely be invited. There's also a scheduling problem involved.
And an eject button, you're out of here.
Okay.
No more of those questions.
All right, well, thank you, and good luck to our 2 members who have left the staff.
Yes.
Hope they find happiness, health, and wealth.
Here, here.
Okay.
Anything else on this item?
No, I have clarity to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of combining the two into an outreach coordinator seems to be,
Thanks for holding it
Yeah.
together with the absence of this position.
yeah. And it's, well, we got a very strong staff, and they're very motivated, and we had a very good staff meeting Monday, and, you know, we're not gonna break their backs. I mean, at this point, if we can't get all the bulletins on the bulletin board that come in, that's something that we'll have to live with.
What? No, I'm just kidding.
Because, you know, it's Christmas time, I don't want people getting sick, but
Right.
it's a good growing period. And because it dovetailed with the move,
Yeah.
it's almost like we, you know, got a bigger pot for the roots to expand and shook the tree and two things fell out.
Right.
Can we have some holiday music on the bulletin board?
I don't think we can control it, we've been fighting with that one.
Depends on what it is.
I'm just a
Okay.
little tired of the one we've had
Oh,
for 2
boy,
years now.
no kidding. It's a dark one.
Same
It's not a
sound.
downer.
Okay, let's
My
stay on,
kids
stay on
call
topic here.
Yeah, woke up crying. Okay, so, that was 5. Okay, the last item, 6, is discussion and possible action on a special election to change the
Oh,
PCA.
You skipped number
you missed-
5.
Did I?
Skip 5.
Oh,
That's because he's not here.
Okay, number 5 was discussion only of the PCA radio project. George had expressed some ideas that he had around the radio project, and John and I casually talked a bit about some of those recommendations that George was gonna share with us tonight, and they are pretty much what John and I identified as being operational interests, and so we were just going to tonight recommend that George make an appointment with Zach and John to discuss the changes that he would like to see in the programming and whatnot. That's really kind of out of our control here, and we also talked
Yeah.
about that poor George and Rachel haven't really gotten any orientation into the board roles and responsibilities, so,
They're in it, they got a binder.
yeah, they're in the
They're
binder.
in the binder.
They can watch
But,
the
you know,
video.
that binder can be a little intimidating if you're, you know, just a newly elected and throw a binder in front of you, it's kind of like, where do you start? So maybe we can just go offline and go over the basics with them if they want to, a little informal meeting. But clearly what George was concerned about were operational issues, like extending programs from 1 hour to 2 hours, things that we don't really need to get into.
That would just be a procedures documentation, policy, and we're
But
just
it's a
doing
little more interesting than that because there's strategic goals for the organization. What do we privilege? We have the LPFM proposition, and now we have a radio space that could be devoted to it. So maybe the radio is going to be involved in that and going to demand a lot of attention. We also have the studio build out, which is, if we spend the money on the radio, we can't spend it on the studio. So there is a combine there, and I did talk to George about it when he called today, and he and I will be meeting. And Zach prepared a full-page status report on where we are with George's issues, so,
Has there been any opening in the window for the LPFM?
no, not a peep.
We're definitely gonna do it next year then.
Should we table this item until next month, just
Yeah.
use George's time?
Yeah, let's do that. Anything else on 5? Okay, now we can move to 6, which is the special election to change the PCA bylaws. And Neil, that's your item, right?
Well, I brought it up and, somehow it's my item, I guess, but,
Well,
That's
we've been
it,
talking
Judy.
about it for a while. It's
Yeah.
mine.
so.
actually-
and
Nice
I
way
don't-
to take ownership.
Yeah, right there.
But, you know, I brought it up as the audit item in particular,
Mhm.
which should save us money, and I gather, I guess what we should be doing here is,
This is the out
Oh.
language, this is the in language, the highlighted.
but this is
being-
for the directors.
Yeah, I sent out two
Yeah.
sheets, there's one.
Right, the other one is
Yeah.
just changing the word audit
We
to
found it.
financial
You
review.
have to even send one to the membership.
And I guess the question I'd have before we sent, this has to be done by an election of the members.
Not the audit question
That can be done by the board.
by the board.
And so the only question I'd have is for Tim as to whether or not this is something we should discuss with the city manager, or,
I think we need to make the bylaws change and
Yeah.
then submit it to the city manager, and I wouldn't foresee any real difficulties.
because
Given the
if we
argument
change it
from
to
the auditor.
financial review,
Yeah.
that can still be an audit when and if we want it, and,
We can make it 1 out of 3 years, or just make it review, but it was the auditor's idea.
Yeah,
That's the strength.
Multiple auditors' ideas.
Multiple auditors.
Yes,
That's
when we were
good.
pricing our services, I heard back from at least, I think 3 of the 4 people we talked to asking us,
So
when are we doing this?
So when we get the case ready, that would be a really good thing to put on there. Dear city manager, we would like to have our contract amended to
right.
reflect this, and here's the
well, I mean,
laid
this
out.
is put on as an action item, and I would think that we should
Yep.
consider a resolution
Yes.
on the audit issue.
And I want to clarify,
Changing the word audit to financial review.
Tonight?
Yes,
Tonight.
I second the motion.
Okay.
I guess that was a motion.
You said we should make a motion.
Here, would the maker restate the motion, please?
I move that we,
As marked up.
in our bylaws, we change the word audit to financial review.
As marked up.
I hereby second.
Did you get that,
Let me
John?
ask one question on that, because Tim, I know you had brought up in the past that the city has some legal wording on what is expected from us, and.
There's a contract. PCA has a contract with the city.
Okay, and if we make the change, is that legitimate with the city?
Well, that's what we're gonna do,
We're
is
gonna do
build,
this
is
first.
put the case together
Yeah.
and say, dear city, we've,
Oh, I see, okay.
it's kinda hard for me to sit on both sides of the table, but, dear city, we've changed our bylaws and would ask to have our contract amended accordingly, and here's the rationale.
Well, should we, then, if we're going to amend the contract, then should that be a separate item, or
Yeah.
should that be part of this?
Separate items.
Separate.
It frees up, the executive director to make that
Right.
proposal of the contract to the city.
So-
Before we would be in violation of our own bylaws.
Uh-huh.
Would we be able to get a letter from our auditor stating that this is a preferred and recommended?
We already have that
We have
letter.
that letter.
It's not a letter recommending, it's a fact finding thing. They
I see.
they cannot weigh in.
They can make a recommendation, but
You
they.
could say you could do this.
But I think I have a copy or 2 of it with me
I
here.
remember
just a
that.
second.
You said it was 3 out of 4 auditors that said that?
yeah, we had solicited
Here, this one
local,
has the stuff.
If we could
Um,
get that on there too,
Torkelson, Pasinke, and Breaker,
all concur
and
with this
they,
idea.
the first question they asked me pretty much universally is, why are you doing an audit, not a financial review?
And what would the savings be on this?
Roughly 40 to 50%.
So that's,
So we could even do an audit every 4th year perhaps, is that possible? Every 3rd year?
I think we would do
Well,
whatever is the will of the city.
Our contract is every 5 years.
Currently.
Why couldn't we do every 5 years then?
I think we should leave that at the will, not a requirement of the organization, but a requirement of the city,
Okay.
and what they feel comfortable with.
Make a proposal.
Yeah. The product contract.
Okay,
Just do an amendment, yeah.
So
So-
I seconded.
okay, so it was
Yeah, you're okay.
as frequently
It's on
as
the
the
original one, but-
city?
no, this is just a move to change the
Okay,
word
okay,
audit
to change the
to
word, right,
financial.
right. Okay,
yeah.
and then John's gonna negotiate the.
Yeah, and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so restate the motion,
The motion
please.
is that we change the bylaws for section 12.02, that the word audit be changed to financial review.
And we're putting this forward as a item for an election.
No,
Board,
You
No,
cannot,
board resolution, yes, you can.
Yeah, we can. That's also in the papers I emailed out, where it has it. The bylaws say that, subject to the right of the members under this section, or section, the next section, the bylaws of PCA may be adopted, amended, or repealed only by 2/3 vote of the board of directors, with the next section giving the exceptions. Once members have been admitted to PCA, the board may not, without approval of the members, specify or change any bylaw provision that would fix or change the authorized number of directors, fix or change the minimum or maximum numbers of directors, change from a fixed to a variable number of directors. 4 or 5 more clauses that we can't do without a member vote, but changing from an audit to a financial review is not included. So we have the right to do that. You have the right to do that, the 2/3 vote.
I guess the question would be, under new business, it says discussion of possible action on special election to change bylaws. I mean, this just might be, instead of just changing bylaws.
The board election.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
is this vote,
I discovered this after I wrote after the agenda was written, but it's something we could roll over to next week next month and.
we could tweak it.
We can't frame that as a board election or a board decision.
I
Okay,
don't know
well,
why
I
not.
misunderstood that too, and so if we're going to
Should have said a
change
resolution.
that, then it should be itemized on our agenda as such. And since we don't have a audit due anytime soon, I don't see any reason why we can't.
No, this is
Carry
something
on.
we would take to the city next year, so we're not in any.
Right.
So-
Yeah, I think it should have a special
Yes.
mention, as a
Okay.
line item on the
It
next.
should be
I'll
line
withdraw-
item.
I will
Change
withdraw
the
that
language for next.
motion,
Okay.
and
Okay,
I'm thinking
Is
of
that-
withdrawing today.
All
Put it on next month's.
Something for, instead of just discussing an action.
can be our withdrawal
Yeah, I'll learn
representative,
about
that's
that.
good.
That's
Right,
good.
on that one.
Somebody's gonna do it.
Especially with this little thing.
Discussion of possible action.
Who voted that?
Okay.
All right, so,
Just like it
Now,
did.
on the other item about the change in the number of directors,
right,
I don't really have an opinion on that. So, somebody else I think who had looked at this more should bring it forward.
It's, my understanding is it's a way to regularize what is a de facto situation, is we're not gonna have 13 board members. It's very hard to find
I
that
just
many.
had a flash thought on that previous item. Madam Chairperson, if we could skip back, rewind a bit.
okay.
Could we take a straw poll, see if we do have a 2/3 majority to proceed with changing the bylaws? Would that be out of,
Changing the bio,
changing the bylaws to switch audit to financial review? We need 2/3 board approval.
I think
okay,
the problem
okay.
is
Rough-
we
roughly how many-
agendized it.
We're not changing the bylaws.
We're
it's
not,
change-
I'm just concerned that if we don't have 2/3, why bother even going?
Okay,
back?
so you wanna know if there's a 2/3,
Can you take a straw poll?
sure. I mean, I would support changing it from,
I would
from,
support changing, there's your
Yeah.
2/3.
Yeah,
We need
Yes.
6, so.
is there anybody that's opposed to it?
No,
I proposed it.
I know.
Okay.
you were
thank
for it before you were against it.
Mark that one.
Do I have to mark it down in the minutes, straw vote?
Do you wanna
can.
withdraw that, nonsensical discussion we just had?
What do you think?
And I think it's fine to
I'll take
have
mine
this,
with an olive.
final versus again at the December meeting.
that's fine.
Carried it over, okay.
Okay,
Shall we move to the other
there's
issue?
nothing nonsensical about you,
I didn't think so.
No.
I was pretty sure.
So,
you did.
John, this is to change from what,
Okay,
13 to 9?
now-
13 and.
Audit is off the table. We are now looking at the recommended amendment to the bylaws, which would restructure the number of directors on the board.
We tried this twice in the past and never.
Yes, it narrowly failed. Narrowly failed.
Because it requires 2/3 of the membership, and we rarely get half the membership to respond to an election.
I think one of the challenges that we had was that the way that the question was posed, the actual mailer of it, did not call itself out enough to, engender, enough interest for 2/3 to come back. So when we put this together, I really suggest we put some thought to how we mail this out, even down to the color of the envelope, maybe doing a postcard beforehand, saying you're gonna be getting, a special, election, mailer in 2 weeks, please look out for it, and I mean, really spend some time on the presentation.
I
And
want-
an FAQ part,
Yeah, and an FAQ
I think we should
part.
do even more than that.
Email.
Well, I was gonna say,
Email votes,
yeah.
let them
why
respond
don't
by
we do
email.
PSAs on,
No, I think there should be an immense campaign, and I went door to door the last time, and we did have a 2/3 return. We could have passed it, but we had 3 no votes, and that knocked it out.
How many members do we have right now?
120.
Couldn't we just call them?
Yeah, that's what I mean,
That's
and
what
this,
I'm
doing.
and I'm thinking this is something that would be good for the organization, if I personally made a
Mm-hmm.
personal appeal to each member.
Mhm.
And we timed it so that the election came around an open house, and they could actually come to the open house and vote. And yes, and a really well-designed campaign to rally the troops to do this.
I think we could even have endorsements from board members listed.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
it's not the same tough sell we had.
Now, this doesn't affect our ability to get a quorum or anything like that.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Yeah.
So-
It's easier to get a quorum with fewer.
Well, what do we need as a quorum? I thought it was a quorum of the,
Quorum of who's sitting on.
Right,
of here.
but the only
This
reason
here.
we've been able to gain a quorum is because we, I don't wanna say intentionally not fill all the appointed seats so that we can keep that number down, because what was happening when we did fill all the seats and we were just grasping people from the community and filling holes with warm bodies that weren't really committed to being here. So if we had a board of 13 and only 5 would show up, then we
Right,
couldn't do
then
any
you'd
business.
But we have a board of 13, we only have 6 members here, so.
And that's what I'm
Those
saying,
we
we
have
aren't
unfilled-
intentionally not
We have
filling seats.
unfilled
Right, so as
seats.
long
So we
as-
have a quorum of
Right,
Six out of
filled
9.
seats.
right,
And that's what constitutes a quorum. is a
exactly.
quorum of
If we
filled
have
seats.
10 directors, then 5 is a quorum.
Right, but so the problem of not having filled seats is what? I mean, you always can keep seats unfilled.
Well, we're not fulfilling the requirement
Yeah.
of our
Our bylaws.
bylaws.
Right.
We've also.
And there has been times where a certain few members
One or more members.
will say, if you're not gonna fill those seats, then we will hold our own election and fill them ourselves.
And the other point is that for an organization of this size, it's sort of ridiculous to have 13 board members. It's just too big and unwieldy and
Right, right.
unnecessary.
Right.
So let's just make that case that,
Exactly.
you know, we wanna get it down to
Exactly.
where we can be lean, mean, and
Manageable.
The argument I used when I sent out the letter with the last one was, the Petaluma City Council is composed of 7 members charged with representing approximately 56,000 people.
Right.
Why would we need 13
Yeah.
representatives to represent
Right.
125?
Right.
I mean, my old board from the Coastal Conservancy was 7 people, and it used to give away $100 million a year.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing is that
Very few
nowadays,
cities have
more
over 5.
boards lean towards trying to get a consensus rather than using the old-fashioned, you know, let's vote and losers lose and winners win. So with consensus, you have to get input from everybody, and to have 13 people have 2 to 5 minutes
Yeah.
of speech takes all night.
Mhm.
In the sort of the second end of this is also, you know, we typically were going to have 3 of those members be appointed by local government agencies, and we've only successfully been able to have one of those.
That was another point. We still have a clause in our bylaws that says we need 2 members from the school district,
High school district.
Petaluma School District.
Oh, it's high school district.
Well, it does say high school district, yeah.
That was the other
Which,
thing, is that
because
we,
that way it ruled, and
Was-
we looked into that because we questioned whether the JC district could meet that requirement,
is that
and
it?
it doesn't.
So we had a number of issues around that we
Eric's
could
marking it
clarify
up for
with
us.
this.
You know,
Oh,
High school district,
oh, there it is.
preschool district.
Thank you.
Just change it to,
Right, director representing the public schools, that was one of the changes, that changed it from high school to public schools.
which means it could be WA school district or the JC or any.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And this was easy because we've gone through this twice, so I just pulled it out and,
Well, do we wanna change it so it says public schools or institutions of higher learning? public institutions of higher learning.
Well, we have to do public to meet the terms of our,
Contract.
the
The
DIP
spirit.
Mhm.
for the education channel.
It's public
I see.
education.
And so a public higher educational institution doesn't match that?
No, any public institution is, publicly funded institution is fine.
So the JC would be fine?
Yes, it's just, it's, you know, in some places, the JC or the Cal States run the education channels.
Okay.
It's just, it's, there, it depends on how the city wants those to be ran.
Right. So could we also change the language to include any public?
Oh, we most certainly can, I think that we're heading into that process. I would think maybe that would be the executive committee would help with this, or maybe it's the policies and procedures. We can hammer out the right formula and then run with it.
Composition?
Yeah.
But this could be an action item for tonight. So we,
That if we decide to have
So we
a
need to
special election, we can set the date for that and put it on the calendar and start working towards it.
right, but we would also have to have the language that we wanna put in that election
Okay,
tonight.
if you wanna do that tonight.
Which means, it's just this modest change to
Yeah,
I see.
educational.
I would motion to approve this
And
change.
As
I wanted
marked
to, one thing I wanna maybe consider,
up. We should include that in the minutes.
I would like to, on line D,
I'm suggesting that you
What?
on line D,
Line D,
designated director shall consist of one director representing the public schools serving the city of Petaluma. Maybe should clarify that maybe not necessarily the city of Petaluma, but the PCA service area.
okay, do we have consensus? Is that where we do it?
Sure.
Serving the PCA, how did you phrase that?
service area.
Serving the PCA service
But
area.
wherever our
defined in
signal
the
is
bylaws?
distributed.
Is the service area defined in the bylaws?
We have
No.
something like that.
It is around, director's residence, isn't it? It's
I know that
Petaluma and including Pengrove.
That makes a lot of
But
sense.
we expanded it in
Otherwise
the policy.
We may change as an organization. in the
But
future.
some
Immediate
bylaws.
vicinity of.
Bylaws can't
That's
That's
true,
true.
and also you leave out.
Is that
a lot
how
of
it's
potential
worded,
people,
immediate vicinity?
In
Because
the
there are little
policy,
pockets
it's
of the
the
county.
immediate vicinity of Petaluma,
within-
which is defined
really
as
within the city.
Sonoma County and
Sort
northern.
of, sort of close, but
But wait a
bylaws
second.
can't refer to a policy.
Well, you have to be a member to be a director, which requires you to reside within the viewing area, correct?
Or
So-
work.
So then there might be
Or work, or work.
service area defined in the director.
Right, but this is only talking about the public school. So we wanna be able to, you don't have to be a member
Right.
to represent the
No,
school.
we're looking for
So-
definition of service
So
area.
we wanna
yeah.
cast the net wider is what we
Right,
wanna do.
right.
Well, it also allows for flexibility if the cable systems change in the future and our service area
The
changes,
bylaws is a can of worms.
where we're distributed to.
Bylaws, and we've taken the policies elsewhere.
What,
Mm-hmm.
why don't we
Guess
just
we'll bring it.
redefine the word Petaluma? So
There you
where
go.
we refer to Petaluma, we're talking about the service area that extends beyond Petaluma.
To make a bylaws change for that,
Yeah, then you only have to do it once.
which is not in the agenda.
Right,
Good idea though.
well, then you only do it once. A legend on that.
So,
Is this redistricting?
Almost.
Are you
Sherry
practicing your
Mandarin.
redistricting
It's manifest
skills,
destiny.
Jason?
I apparently.
Are we gonna have a simple majority after this?
Yeah, 2/3 of the members, that's a super majority.
May I also suggest that,
You probably have to
um,
do
that we say that designated directors shall consist of, besides the local government, because we're never gonna lose Tim, designated directors shall consist of 2 directors appointed from either a school district serving this, the service area, or an institution of higher learning within the service area.
Right.
So
but
that's-
Public institutions.
So we don't have to have one from an elementary school and one from a high school. We could
Right.
just say, any elementary school, any
Well,
high school, or any public, institution of higher learning. 2 out of those 3, that's the pool of which we were gonna have 2 designated
No,
directors.
we're cutting it down to 1.
Or 1, okay, well,
That's
that's the
why-
pool from which we were gonna get 1
Yeah.
designated
Designated
director.
directors shall consist of 1 director representing the, and here's where we're rewriting, representing the schools and institutions of higher learning serving the.
Oh, we're removing this, okay.
Yeah, the public schools and institutions of higher learning.
So,
Oh,
the way the change is in red, the 1 director representing the public schools, serving the city of Petaluma, and we have a proposition to change city of Petaluma to PCA service area.
Mhm.
The service area then would be defined by where the broadcast goes.
That's what I was just thinking, and if we ever expand that, that's
Mhm.
gonna,
Well,
Well, no, that's why if we say, then we open it up, if we just say what we're talking about is the service area broadcasted from Petaluma.
which is complicated by UVerse is available all over the Bay Area,
Right.
but Comcast only in basically city limits. I'm pretty sure
Well,
Comcast is only the city
Yeah, but-
limits.
Well, we addressed this in the policies that we wrote 2 years ago, and we created the clause immediate vicinity, which is defined as Sonoma and Marin counties. We will accept members from Sonoma and Marin counties. It's been effective, and then we broadcast it here, and we cover stuff here.
Mhm.
But it broadened our membership base, and we thought it would put us in a better position for eventual give to elsewhere if we wanted to go that way. So we were spreading the net wider, and it was something that Santa Rosa was doing, and it seemed logical.
But changing that to start incorporating
Well,
beyond that, does
That's-
that then obligate us to provide a certain level of service? I mean, if we're now, are we making a commitment that we're serving
well,
someone?
we've already veered from the bylaws to the policies in that procedure.
I mean, if we are, our service area includes Marin County, and then this language would enable some school in Novato
Yeah.
to have a representative on our board instead of somebody from Petaluma. So,
Yeah,
you know.
we want that.
Maybe we don't
Well,
want that.
Not
right?
that, no.
Well, my
Could even
secondary
be Court of Madera.
thought on that is, you know, there's discussion that it's a dream for some people now, but maybe the local agency formation commission reduces the school districts or something like that,
I-
consolidates, or.
I have a really basic
this and
question
that.
though. Sorry. I mean, Petaluma community access, so how are we defining the Petaluma community? I mean, just to take this back,
Well, it's not the city limits, because there are
right,
people.
but it's not Novato. It's not all of Marin County.
We just call it the greater Petaluma area.
Yeah, you could. You could.
I mean, it basically,
Well,
it's a
definitely-
greater Petaluma.
okay, there has to be,
Unincorporated Petaluma?
there has to be a board or a something that assigns the designee to this position.
Right.
So it would have to fall underneath the Petaluma School Board.
Well, it was written as the Petaluma School District.
Right.
Because
Districts.
it's just like the city manager brings Tim here.
Right.
Somebody's gonna have to bring these designees here. And I see that as the school board.
I would
Or-
be comfortable leaving it. We wanted a definition that allowed us to go directly to teachers in any school serving Petaluma and find somebody who wanted to be on them.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could just rewrite it as a director representing the public schools serving the city of Petaluma.
Yes.
That did it.
That seems like.
I would add to that public, any director serving public schools or institutions of higher learning.
You don't think schools implies institution?
No, because the institutions of higher learning means the JC,
Is-
That's a
Sonoma
school.
State.
Does the higher
It's
learning
it's
mean
not a
only
public
4 years?
school per se.
It's not?
Well, I don't know, public,
Yeah,
Well,
it's-
I
it
will
is a
give you a quandary to that.
College.
okay.
Theoretically, you are in UC Berkeley's district service area, and you are also in Sonoma State's service area.
Uh-huh. Okay.
The Berkeley
Well,
Education
Sonoma State, it'd be
Department
nice
wants
to have Sonoma State
public,
person.
public
Yes, but I just wanted to
information
ponder
school wants to.
Okay,
So Matt, why did you ask to expand it to include PCA service area?
because we may have people that watch and participate. Let's say our cable signal by Comcast or whatever else ends up covering the town of Bodega or Cotati or something like that in the future. Things that we may not predict that we may be distributing content to. And that's what my concept of that was. And but whatever, my whole thought of this is, how can we, Petaluma City High School District has not been willing to
So we
participate.
wanted to get rid of the word high school.
And
Right.
so,
High, anyway.
so if we could get one of the other districts to participate, whether it's the district I work for or any of the others, to try and get them involved and feel more ownership in the education channel, would be an excellent thing.
The language doesn't preclude that.
May I just
Okay.
jump in and say, maybe the solution is if we look at how they define Tim's position, director representing the local government departments and agencies with
Mhm.
interest in the use of the cable system for local government purposes. They don't say anything about Petaluma there at all.
And not a whole lot of local governments in town.
I know, so we just say local schools with an interest in using PCA.
okay. Second. That motion.
You like
Even though it's not a motion. but I
Well, that's
second.
just basically going with what you have.
Yeah, it's just, instead of saying public schools serving the city of Petaluma, I would recopy the language from this,
Okay,
from
You don't
the,
have to reread it.
so, let me
As a
see.
motion.
Okay, yeah, say it, so we,
Section D, designated directors shall consist of one director representing the local institutions of learning.
Public.
public,
Public,
About public schools and institutions that are
there you go.
Yeah,
okay,
Public
then
school.
we're
and public institutes of
okay,
higher learning.
Right.
representing the public schools or institutions of higher learning with interest in the use of the cable system for local educational purposes.
So we could hope that we get 9 nominees.
But the institute, public in front of that, to be clear.
I would think if I say public schools or institutions,
Okay, then, yeah. Or
Again.
slash.
I like that.
director, one director representing the public schools or institutions of higher
See,
learning.
when you say public schools or institutions, you're saying or institutions, it doesn't have to be public then. Someone could
So just use public twice.
Just use public
Okay.
twice.
Or public.
Well, actually, to fix that,
Bless
just make
you.
it publicly funded.
Public
Well, to
funded.
what extent, though? Because some private institutions
Yeah,
get some public.
funding.
I'll leave it
Charter school,
Let's leave it at
Alright,
public,
just
we're good.
public.
Director representing the public schools or public institutions of higher learning serving, with interest in the use of the cable system for local educational government
Makes
purposes.
sense. Perfect.
So,
okay.
Yeah, what he said.
that is the replacement that we are voting on, putting
Yes.
into the ballot, that we will start working on.
Thank
And
you, Mr.
we need
Chairman.
a motion to that effect.
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any
Okay.
further discussion?
Stop
Are we
laughing.
good with this?
I'm sorry, I just thought that was funny.
We're all good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Alright, opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
That was nice.
Whose iPhone opposed?
Yeah, nice, Eric. Nice sound effects.
Thanks, Eric.
Oh,
Got it.
Mine did it too,
So now it passed unanimously?
huh? That was a double.
It's beyond you now,
You're sitting there.
not just passing.
Okay, then, with that, we are finished.
Have we set a date for this special election?
Oh, that's right. What was the date that you,
Valentine's Day,
Hmm?
February 15th.
Really, that soon?
But we want to get it done so we have a month or two
is it something we
to go
wanna
to the
tie
city.
in with our butter and egg day?
I would think like March would, but because you,
Okay, no, I threw out a date, you threw out
Okay.
one, and
okay,
We'll see who wins.
Yeah.
Do I have to change tapes again?
No.
No, okay, well, I move we set the date of the special election
How
for
about the Ides of
on or
March?
about March
You
fifteenth,
can't do
two
on or
thousand
about.
thirteen.
Ides of March, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Ides.
on or about.
The Ides have it.
Is this a tentative date or a
It's an on or about date.
on or about date?
Make it March twelfth
And,
then.
and any time between now and then,
Say March
John, you
12th, it's
can
Tuesday,
give us
second Tuesday.
better
Here's the
ideas
mail
or
and
reasons why we
okay.
shouldn't do it then.
Alright, on or about March twelfth.
Okay,
You gotta read that to me again, cause I'm almost thinking we could set the date next meeting.
Okay,
Let's do that.
Okay,
We could reflect on it.
alright.
Reflect.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I would
And
draw
come-
the
and-
motion.
and
I was
could-
thinking
and then
agonize, but.
have your people work on it and then come back with some
Have my
marketing ideas.
My
Have your
talk to
people-
your
Now,
people.
I
Have your
think we
people
should-
come back to our
We think
people
we should
and with
talk
some
to our
marketing
lawyer to
ideas.
see whether or not we have to have a 2/3 vote to set the date.
Oh, God, how do you have a vote then? Oh, it's.
I think we should
Okay,
get
is
you
there
a job
any-
with the school district, so this.
Anything further here
Alright,
tonight?
Happy Turkey Day.
Thank
I
you.
move
Is that the
adjournment.
motion to adjourn?
Aye.
everyone have a happy holiday.
All right. We are done.